Hello dear friends, our topic is photosynthetic pigments. The photosynthetic pigments of higher plants fall into two classes, the chlorophyll and carotenoid. Their role is to absorb light energy and convert it into chemical energy. Pigments are located of chloroplast membrane or thylakoid and chloroplast. The behavior of light and other form of electromagnetic radiation is described by physicists using two different models. A wave model means light is as a wave, and a particulate model where light behaves as a particle. The wave model is used to describe how light passes through space and how it is absorbed by photosynthetic pigments. The particulate model is used when explaining the events in photosynthesis. Sunlight travels in space in the form of rhythmic waves similar to those made on a pond after stone is dropped in. The distance between the crests of two adjacent waves called wavelength, usually measured in nanometer. This is a scheme explaining the wavelength. The wavelength consists of many different measurements, means they are arranged from the higher energy to lower energy. The higher wavelength, the lower energy. The shorter wavelength, the higher energy. The visible light spectrum occupies only a small part of this. Visible light consists of range of different wavelengths which combine to give white light, but which when seen separately appear as different colors. As sunlight falls on plants, some wavelengths are absorbed, others are reflected or transmitted. The pattern of absorption and reflection depends on the colored substances called pigment it contains in its chloroplast. Grass appears green in sunlight because grass contains chlorophyll pigments which reflect green light and absorb other wavelengths. Chlorophyll and other photosynthetic pigments. There are several types of chlorophyll, all containing a ring structure called polyethylene ring with magnesium at the center linked to a long hydrocarbon chain. Chlorophyll A, type of chlorophyll common to all plants and the only one found in cyanobacteria, absorbs light mainly in the red, orange, and blue violet parts of visible light spectrum. Chlorophyll A take a direct part in photosynthesis. Some photosynthetic bacteria have another type of chlorophyll called bacteriochlorophyll, which contains manganese instead of magnesium. Apart from chlorophyll A, there are other photosynthetic pigments in chloroplast called accessory pigments. Accessory pigment does not participate directly in the light-dependent reaction, but they broaden the range of light that a plant can use. The pigment absorb light of other wavelengths outside the range of chlorophyll A and convey the energy to chlorophyll A, which then uses it in photosynthesis. No one of accessory pigments absorb well in the green-yellow area of the spectrum. Accessory pigment includes chlorophyll B, carotenoids, and phyophytin. The wavelength of light that a particular photosynthetic pigment absorbs can be displayed in a graph called absorption spectrum. Absorption spectrum means relative amount of light absorbed at different wavelengths by a pigment. Another one is action spectrum. Action spectrum means the effectiveness of different wavelengths of light in stimulation the process of photosynthesis. How the chlorophyll exploits the power of energy from sunlight. When the light is absorbed by a photosynthetic pigment, the light behaves as a series of particles called photon. Each photon of light contains a fixed amount of energy called quantum. The shorter wavelength, the larger quantum. For example, violet photon contains almost twice as much energy as photon of red light. When chlorophyll absorbs a photon of light, one of the pigment's electrons gain energy. Its energy level is raised from its lowest, most stable level or ground state to a higher level, excited state. The excited molecule is unstable. Now chlorophyll absorbs light, then is ionized into chlorophyll plus and release electron. In a pure solution of chlorophyll, the excess energy is released as heat, light, and the electron reverts to its ground state. The chlorophyll produces reddish light called fluorescence. In chloroplast, the excited electron is passed on to another molecule called primary acceptor molecule. This molecule is reduced or gains electron as the chlorophyll is oxidized or loses electron. Alternatively, the excited electron itself may pass from the chlorophyll molecule to another molecule called electron acceptor. When chlorophyll is therefore oxidized and the electron acceptor reduced, chlorophyll replaces its electrons by removing lower energy electrons from another molecule. This means electron donor. The reduction of primary acceptor molecule is the first stage of light-dependent reaction. The arrangement of pigments in chloroplasts. The photosynthetic pigments are clustered in thylakoid membranes. The chlorophyll is organized along with proteins, other smaller organic molecules, and other photosynthetic pigments into photosystem. Each cluster called an antenna complex. A photosystem has a light gathering complex antenna consisting chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and carotenoid. Now this structure illustrates how the photo is absorbed. Once the photo falls on the plants, light energy is absorbed by the pigments, then the electrons move to the primary acceptor molecule, passing through the action center chlorophyll. The number and variety of pigment molecules enable a photosystem to harvest light over a larger surface and a larger portion of the spectrum than any single pigment molecule could harvest. When any antenna molecule absorbs a photon, the energy is transmitted from the pigment to pigment until it reaches a particular chlorophyll A. The special of chlorophyll A molecule is not its molecular structure, but its position. This chlorophyll is located in the region of the photosystem called reaction center, where the first light-driven chemical reaction of photosynthesis occurs. Each photosystem reaction center chlorophyll and electron acceptor surrounded by antenna complex functions in chloroplast as light harvesting unit. The solar inner transfer electrons from chlorophyll to the primary electron acceptor. This is the first step of light reactions. There are two types of photosystems, photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. In photosystem 1, the reaction center is P700 because chlorophyll A has a maximum absorption at a wavelength of 700 nanometer. Photosystem 2 has reaction center called P680 because chlorophyll A has a maximum absorption at 680 nanometer. Evaluation 1. Which color of the spectrum does chlorophyll A absorb the most? Answer: red and blue. In the context of photosynthesis, explain the difference between an action spectrum and absorption spectrum. Answer: action spectrum shows the relationship usually plotted as a graph between the wavelength of light and the rate of photosynthesis, whereas absorption spectrum shows the percentage of absorption of light by chloroplasts at different wavelengths of light. Which area of the spectrum is not absorbed well by any accessory pigment? Answer: the green yellow parts of spectrum around 500 and 550 nanometer. Thank you for watching this video. See you.